Are you looking for some easy, budget friendly, and primitive winter DIYs now that all the Christmas decorations are coming down? If you are, then come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primrose Lane Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting with me again in the future. And now, let's get right into these winter DIYs. For this first DIY, I'm going to be taking this little basket that I got from my local Goodwill. It was $3.99, and it had these adorable little snowmen and snowflakes. I thought it would be absolutely perfect for winter, but really any basket would do. I mean, if you're like me, you probably have a million baskets laying around your house. I know I'm a little bit of a basket addict, so I tend to collect them even if I don't really need them. But anyways, I'm just going to take this basket and I'm just going to fill it full of pine cones. Now, these are pine cones I have. These are actually some really large pine cones. My sweet mother-in-law brought these back from South Carolina for me, and as you can see, some of these are really, really large, but I'm going to use a combination of larger, smaller, to fill this basket to the top. Now, if you just have smaller pine cones, you could always put some filler down the bottom and just a few on the top. And then next, after I have my pine cones in, I'm just going to take some of this pip berries. Now, these are just a cream and maroon pip berry stem that I had, and I'm just going to rip a few pieces off. I'm not going to use the whole stem for this. And you can find pip berries on Amazon or Factory Direct, or shoot, even thrift stores have them. Quite frequently, you can find them. I think even Dollar Tree has some little rolls of pip berries. But I'm just going to start tucking my pitberry little stems here in and around my pine cones. This is such a really, really simple project that's really cute to decorate for winter, and it really doesn't take a lot. It's really budget friendly, and you may even have everything you need just sitting around your house currently. So I'm just going to keep tucking my pit berries in and around my pine cones just until I get enough in there that looks good to me. Maybe we'll just add one more right here. Next, I'm going to take these little pine stems. Now, these are just some pieces I pulled off just a little garland I had from Walmart. And I'm just going to bend these and start tucking them in and around my pine cones, just in any place I see a little hole, just to add a little bit of greenery, a little bit of pine to this little winter basket. And I'm not gluing anything down on this. This is one that, if I change my mind and want to redo the basket next year, use it for something else, I absolutely can. It's not glued, it's not permanent. Next, I'm going to take these little fairy lights. These are from the Dollar Tree. They have little snowflakes on them, and I thought it'd be really cute to add some lights to this basket and tucking them in and around. And I will tell you guys, I got these and I thought they would be really cute, but I put them in the basket before I'd actually turned them on, and I thought these were the white ones, but when I turned them on, they absolutely were not white. They were blue, very blue, which would look cute in a different piece, but for this, it just did not look right. So you will see in the final product, I did go ahead and just added some normal, just soft white light fairy lights to this. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just taking this blue and cream gingham homespun fabric, and I'm just going to rip about an inch or so inch thick strip of this fabric, and I'm going to just add it around my little basket handle and just tie it in a simple bow right on the side there and trim my tails. So here, as you can see in the final product, I did trade those little snowflake fairy lights out from the Dollar Tree and for just a plug-in set of soft white light ones from Amazon, and I love how it turned out. This is such a simple, budget-friendly DIY to decorate for winter. For this next DIY, I'm just taking one of these little metal buckets that come from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start off by peeling off this, well, attempting to peel off this sticker. And after I did battle with it, because it was a very stubborn one, I gave this 2 coats of Waverly white chalk paint. I'm going to be turning this little bucket into a little snowman bucket. So here's what it looks like after 2 coats of the white chalk paint. And next, since I want this to be a little primitive looking, I want to add a little bit of distressing. If the primitive look is not so much your thing, you could absolutely just skip this step and just leave it the clean white look. But I'm just going to take my Waverly Antique Wax that I get from Walmart, and I'm just going to lightly dry brushing this right over top. I'm going to go over my top and bottom edges and just lightly dry brush, and then I'll use the side of my brush as well to add a little bit of darker smudges here or there. Now, after I've got my distressing done, I'm going to take just a pencil, and I'm just going to sketch out my face to start with. I'm going to make his nose on this. Instead of going to the side, I'm going to make his nose pointed down. Kind of like, I guess, a front facing view of little snowman. And I'm just going to do a simple little face. I'm just going to do 2 plain, just circle eyes and little dots for his mouth. This is not an intricate face. This is something anybody with any level of artistic talent could do. Now, to draw on my face instead of paint, I'm going to be using my Sharpie marker. So I'm going in here with my orange one, and I'm just going to fill in the lines of his nose. If you wanted to use paint, I would say absolutely go for it, but the Sharpie markers also work really great for this as well. I'm just adding some couple little lines here because, the little lines and veins in a carrot. I'm just adding a couple with my pencil, and I'll go in later with my black Sharpie marker and make these a little darker. And yes, I'm going in with my black Sharpie marker now to do the eyes and the mouth. Like I said, I'm just going to use my black marker to kind of go over a couple of those little veins in the nose, just to make them a little darker, easier to see. And last, I'm just going to take a little scrap piece of this homespun fabric. This is the dark navy blue and cream gingham. It looks black, but it really is a dark navy blue. And I'm just going to tie it right to the handle. Now, I just popped a little bit of pine down in the bucket, and I had these white pitberry stem, and I'm going to add that right in and among the pine. And here he is. I absolutely love this little snowman bucket. I think he turned out adorable. You have to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. For For this next DIY, I'm going to be using some of these 1 gallon paint stir sticks that I got at Lowe's. These come, I think, 10 in a pack. They're really inexpensive, only a couple dollars for a pack of 10. And I'm going to be using a total of 6 of these. Now, one side has a ruler and the other side's plain, so I don't want to use the ruler side on this project. And I'm going to lay 4 of them out in a square. We're going to be making a little primitive window here. So once I get these laid out in my square, and I will note on the handles of these, I kind of put, you'll see the little indentations for the handle. I put one going to the right and the one on the bottom going to the left to kind of stagger those out a little bit. But I'm using some hot glue to glue these down. You could also add a little bit of wood glue as well to, if you want to make sure this was really not going anywhere, but the hot glue worked really well for me. We're going to take the last 2 and we'll put one right here across the center. These are going to be our window panes. And I didn't measure, I just kind of eyeballed where the center was. I'm an eyeballing it kind of gal. And then I'm just going to glue the other one the opposite direction. Just watch your little ruler marks if yours are the ones that have the rulers on them to make sure that they're all facing to the back side. You see our little window taking shape here. Now I'm going to use my Waverly Antique Wax again, and I'm going to use it as like a stain, and I'm going to go over my window front and back. I'll just give it a nice good coat, and I'll use a paper towel just to kind of wipe off any of the excess. I want the wood grains to show through. You could paint this too if you would like. Really personal preference. I just wanted to go with the stained look. That way I could, if say I wanted to change this out for the different seasons, the stained wood goes with anything, I think, for the most part, but total personal preference, whichever you like. Once my window is dry, I'm going to go back in with this dark navy blue and cream gingham homespun, and I'm just kind of measuring out the size of my window here, and I'm going to snip it in the corners, and then I'm going to cut it instead of ripping it because I want to make sure I get this straight and I didn't make it go crooked and then not fit properly. So I just decided to cut with this one. Then I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to make this into 2 pieces. This is going to be the curtain panels for our little window, and I am going to rip this one down the center. Let's hope I rip it straight because I do want that little bit of frayed edge to show, and it looks like I did. Yay! Now I'm going to place my first little curtain panel on one side of my window and using hot glue to attach it. You don't want to attach it in the center, just the 3 sides, the top, bottom, and outer side, because that inner side we will be doing something with the pullet to give it a little more of a curtain, like a curtain tie back look. And guys, I will say, you might be noticing as I'm gluing this down, I am gluing it on the side that does not have the ruler. This was supposed to be the front of my piece, and I was not paying attention, and I glued my little curtain panels to the wrong side to start with. So I had to rip them off and put them on the correct side. And so learn from my mistakes. Be sure to check which side. If you do have the ones with the rulers, check which side you're gluing to. So that way you don't have to redo it. Thankfully, I was able to get it off without doing any damage and re-glue it the right direction. But as you can see, we're going to pull these center pieces back here, the center of our curtains back, to give it that tie back look. And it'll kind of go back to a certain place. There'll be resistance, you'll feel it. And I'm going to pull it back, add some hot glue right underneath there, and then hold that down until that glue really snags it. And I was a little generous with the hot glue down in there, not enough to overspill the sides, but definitely enough that it should hold. And then I'm going to pull the other side back roughly the same distance and repeat the process. Just as your hot glue underneath there, and get your fabric down in that glue really good and hold it and let that glue set. And here is what our little window with our curtains is looking like. Now in the center here, I have this little pitberry candle ring. It's maroon and cream with little rusty stars, and I'm going to attach it to my window using my rusty wire here. You could also use, for any different season, you could put a little pine wreath here in the center if you want it. In the spring, you could even put boxwood. Really personal preference, but I like the look of the little pitberry ring. So I'm just going to take a piece of my rusty wire and I'm going to attach the wire, pieces of the wire, to the top, bottom, and the sides, kind of in the four corners, north, south, east, and west, so that I can wire it to my window panes. And this way it's wired, it's not glued, and if I change my mind and want to change it out later, I can just very easily change it out. So I'll just slide my wire underneath that window pane, kind of separate the pip berries, and wrap my wire around the other side, right around that ring, to secure it. So I'll try to show you here a little closer up so you can see I've got that underneath the pane, just my little wire, and just wrapping it tightly around the other side of my little pitberry ring, and it's on there good and secure. And from the back, that's what it looks like. You can hardly even see those wires. Now, as a way to hang it, I'm going to take one of these little sawtooth hangers. I get these at Lowe's, a whole giant pack. They're pretty inexpensive. And I'm going to add it to the top here. It comes with little tiny tacks, but the tacks are actually thicker than the paint stir stick. So I just used some hot glue. The piece is actually pretty light, so using a pretty generous amount of hot glue secured it right there to the top. And here we go. An adorable little faux primitive window that you could put it on a shelf, on a mantle, hang it on your wall. For this DIY, I'm going to be using just some tin cans. I'm going to be using a larger tin can that's about the size of one you would find pineapple or crushed tomatoes in. It's the larger one, and then a smaller, just regular soup can. We're going to be making a little snowman, primitive snowman out of these. So the bottom can, which will be the face, the body of my snowman, I'm going to give 2 coats of the Waverly white chalk paint. And for my top can, which will be his hat, I'm going to give just 1 coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color of ink. We're going to do a little bit of grunging and distressing to this hat, so 1 coat of the black was really all that was needed. Now the bottom one, the white one, I wanted to have a little more coverage since it will be his face, so I did do 2 coats on it so that it was nice and covered. Now for the brim of her hat, I'm just using this corrugated cardboard. This is literally just an Amazon mailer. You've seen me use these before. And I'm taking this 2.5-inch roll wired ribbon spool, and I'm using it as a template to make a circle. You just want something that is larger, just a little bit larger than your bottom can, because this is the brim of the hat. We want it to stick over just a little bit over that bottom can, and this that ribbon was perfect template. So I'm going to give this a coat on the front and the back as well of the black chalk paint. So here's my can after 2 coats. Now I didn't do 2 coats on the very tip top because it will be covered by the hat. So for around our snowman's face, I wanted to add a little bit of distressing, make this look a little bit of rust maybe showing through this can. So I'm going in with my Waverly antique wax and just dry brushing and using the side of my brush to smudge a few little darker spots here and there, catch some of those little rivets that are in the can, and just go all around it, just adding some of that distressing, giving it that nice primitive aged antique look. Once again, if that look is not your thing, hey, that's okay too. Just skip this step. These little snowmen would look cute whether they're distressed and primitive or not. Now for the nose, I got a little time, I almost said snows. The nose of our little snowman, I'm going to go back in with my corrugated cardboard mailer here, and I'm just going to cut a nose, and I kind of have, it's where that circle is cut out kind of in a little angle up, and I thought actually that'd be really cute. Let's make his little nose angle up, and I'm going to make a decently sized nose because I wanted to kind of pop off the can a little bit there at the end, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to take my orange little Sharpie marker here, and I'm just going to color this with this orange marker. And when it goes on, it doesn't really look orange at all. It looks kind of dark, but as it dries, I promise you, it does start to brighten up. But it's not too bright. It's almost the perfect color. You could paint this too as well, but I really like the color and look that the marker gives it. And it's easy. Who doesn't like easy? I like easy. You can see it's already starting to dry and lighten up. But before we add anything to his face, I want to add a little scarf. So I'm taking this blue and cream gingham once again, and I'm just going to rip about an inch or so inch thick strip, and wrap it right around the bottom and tie it off. I'm going to kind of make the knot off to the side just a little bit to where his face will be. Now cut my tails. I'm going to leave my tails a little bit long. I'm going to let them hang over a little bit. Not quite that long. Just maybe a couple inches. And I'm going to use some hot glue just to tack this down in place to make sure it doesn't slip slide and that my little scarf tails stay put. It almost kind of gives the appearance of almost like a little bow. So now I'm going to add his nose next. And I'm just going to decide where I want to place it. And I'm going to add hot glue on half of the nose, on the part I want on the can. Add it down. And then the tip you see will hang. It'll kind of be off the side. And you can see that orange really did lighten up. Now for his face, I'm going to use black chalk paint, but I'm going to start off by just sketching on his eyes and mouth with just a pencil first. That way I've kind of, I'm not going in with paint first so that I can, if I change my mind and don't like it, I can fix it, erase it and fix it before I make it permanent in paint. But even if you mess up with the black paint, that's okay too. Just add a little bit of white, cover it up, and then try again. No big deal. And I'm just doing a pretty simple face. I'm going to give his eyes a little different. Instead of just the solid black, I'm going to give him a little bit of white to these eyes. and then just take a small paintbrush and go in and fill in my pencil lines. Just have fun with it. You could also use a paint pen. That would also be a great option here to fill these in, maybe a little easier than a brush. I didn't have a black paint pen though, so I went with this. You could also use the Sharpie markers. That would also work as well, just like we did on the other little snowman tin. Many different options. Whichever one you're most comfortable with, or what you have. Now that his face is done, I want to start putting his hat together. So I'm going to take and use a pretty generous amount of hot glue here. I'm going to go around the rim of my can and then just put that right down in the center of the cardboard brim. And I'll add some more glue around the outside to reinforce this in a minute as well. But we'll start off with that. So the next I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax because I want to start distressing this hat a little bit. So I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm just going to dry brush it on and around this hat a little bit. It's actually kind of hard to see on camera. It really is. In person, you can tell it's there. It just kind of gives a little bit of that faux rust look in and around the can, around the edges. Fills in any of that black. There's a little thinner. This isn't going to be the only distressing or grunging we do, but I'm starting with it because it does add an additional layer to the grunge. And I'm going to do it to the top part of the can as well as the brim, the cardboard brim. It is kind of hard to see on camera, but I promise you it's there. So next I'm going to take my matte finish Mod Podge and just some ground cinnamon, and I'm going to start going around my hat, and I'm very lightly putting this Mod Podge, almost like dry brushing. I'm not doing a full solid coat. It's kind of a hit or miss, just like almost like a dry brush, and then I'm sprinkling my cinnamon over. I don't want the grunge to be solid. I want this just to be in places. So I'm getting it into that Mod Podge that's here and there, and I'm using my finger to really kind of press that down into that Mod Podge really good, kind of smear it down in there. I just want this to be intermittent to kind of look like, you know, some rusty spots on this little tin hat. Shake off my excess there. And I'm going to do the same thing to the cardboard. Just gonna kind of dab that Mod Podge on there and sprinkle my cinnamon and press it down in there real good so that when it dries, it's stuck. to attach my hat, I'm just going to add some hot glue to my face of my little snowman and then glue the hat right on top. Press it down real good. I want that glue to really, really, really adhere there. And being the cardboard, when you press it down real good, it'll kind of sink down a little bit onto that can a little bit too. Now here I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to go all the way around the base of my little can here on the top hat. This is going to help reinforce that to help it stay, but it's also going to match so where I can add a strip of this blue and cream gingham fabric right around the base of the hat as well. And guys, when I cut this, yep, sure enough, I somehow managed to cut it too short, of course. So, oh well, no harm, no foul. I just had to cut a little extra piece there and glue it in the little small gap that I left because even though I measured, like, thought I had it, nope, I didn't. Oh, I guess to err is human, but in the end, you can't even tell. Now I'm going to go underneath here too, and I'm going to add a little extra hot glue underneath this rim, right where the bottom meets the brim of the hat, just to reinforce that. Add a little extra glue to make sure those pieces stay put. Isn't he looking cute? Now I'm going to take one of these garland ties. These are ones, I'm not sure if these are from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but they're the ones, they aren't quite as wild, wild, but maybe as thick as the ones from the Dollar Tree. You could use the little stems that come from the Dollar Tree too. You just might want to give them a little bit of a haircut. I like these because I think they have a little bit more of a primitive feel to them. But I'm going to just cut two little pieces, kind of put them in an X and give them a twist so that I have just a little pine piece here that I can glue to his hat. And I'm also going to take, I have this little jingle bell pick. It has jingle bells, some rusty stars, and it's got some like little tendrils that kind of come out from it. And I'm just going to borrow a piece off that. I've been borrowing from this pick quite a bit for using bells or stars or whatever I need off of it. And I'm going to just kind of twirl those tendrils a little bit, make them a little bit tighter spirals. And I'm just going to take the wire from the pick and wrap it right around the center of my little pine twist here that I did so that it's attached to the pine and that my little bell is right in the middle of the pine. And then I'm going to hot glue that right there to the brim of his hat, kind of to the side of his face, just slightly. Almost above where, say, the knot of his scarf is. Love equal with that. And I had to trim down my wire a little bit in the back. It was a little thick from where I wrapped that jingle bell around it, so I just had to give it a little trim. Now the last thing I'm going to do is going to take one of my paper tags. These I get off of Amazon, and just using my fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm going to write the word Frosty. This is going to be our little Frosty the Snowman. And I want this tag to be primitive, just like the rest of my little snowman. So I'm going to give it a nice little crinkle here, just wad it up, make it kind of wrinkly. And then I'm using my Waverly Antique Wax. I'm just going to go around the edges and the center and give this a nice antique age paper look, a little darker on the edges as compared to the center. If you have the distressing ink, you could use that too. But if you've watched me, you know that I like to use my antique wax for most things. Kind of a one-stop shop. I like to try to use the things I have on hand instead of buying extra stuff for extra things. And I find the antique wax works great for distressing these tags. I'm just going to take and hot glue it right here behind my pine, kind of right behind my bell to finish this piece off. And here's our little Frosty the Snowman. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop me a comment. Let me know which of today's was your favorite. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button, follow me on socials, and until next time, God bless and happy crafting.